Okay, so we are in, the third quantum action, right? So dissociation being the astral body, right? Separating from the physical body, right? Quantum action 2 is that fragmentation that happens when we create an out-of-body experience, right? And quantum action 3 is being able to put a bubble around it, right? Create this loop so that this piece of time, this memory is separated from our daily existence, right? So this little dude is out of his body. He's looking down. He's seeing this dire situation. He has encapsulated it, right? And in that encapsulation, right, he has also created another fragment, right? So we have this little dude, he's putting like a, like a cyst, like a bubble, like a membrane around this horrific moment so that he can get up and have breakfast the next day and not feel like he is with an axe murderer. Yeah, right? Now in that, we've got those diagnoses and those feelings of derealization, of depersonalization, feeling set apart, feeling separate. That is all really true when we create one of these loops. So he has this infectious moment tied off from time, right? What's he going to do now?
Preach.
And in this, he's got the opportunity, right, to look down, and I can truly remember these moments, looking down and seeing my body being pummeled or sexually interacted with, right? And being able to look down and go, wait, right? Is it possible that maybe I don't have to go back to this moment? Maybe I can hop over a few frames where, this situation is not as dire as it is in this current timeline, right? We recognize that alternate timelines, right, flow in congruence, right, with the one we're living in. That meaning that a moment in time can be played out in a multitude of different ways. And what if this little kid is brilliant enough to say, if I drop back down in this moment, right, how do I get out of it? So maybe he's going to hop over a few frames into a situation that's not quite as tragic. Now, the problem with that, is, quote, that amnesia feeling, and that nothing really feels real. The people around you may recognize them, but you don't really know them. They're behaving slightly differently. They're responding slightly differently, right? I can actually remember, being able to see myself being touched, but not being able to feel it, right? And I do believe that that has a lot to do with people and cutting and those different things. It's an extremity of like, where am I? What can I feel, right? I can't feel anything. One time I had a knife go all the way through my hand, out the other side, and I didn't even bleed. Right? I couldn't feel it. I didn't bleed. I walked in, I could see it. It was like, hey, I think we need to go to the hospital. Like, knife coming out the other side of my hand, right? And that's real.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable, eh?
Yeah, I couldn't feel it, right? So there is, that explanation of like, wait, like our bodies and our energy and our timelines are so fragmented, right? That things are happening that we're not even aware of at all. So they say there's 4 alternate timelines. I don't know who knows that. Maybe there's 4, maybe there's 6, but these timelines are playing out in slightly different ways. Now, I remember when I was younger being in situations that I was like, wait, I feel like I don't have the right script, right? I have felt that numerous times in my life, and I believe that is in direct relationship to this timeline theory where we're hopping around time and, you know, you're still the same, but everything else is constantly changing. Yeah. Yeah, so there is a similarity, but there are very much fundamental differences, right? It's like a person when they wake up from a traumatic event, like say they're in a coma and they open their eyes and everybody is around them, right? And I love you, blah, blah, blah. And there's a space of like, I know you, but, right? And in that, right, we're trying to live our lives. Now, that's an adult going, wait, I don't know who anyone is, right? I don't know you. You're pretending to be my wife, but I don't know you, right? As a child, I would say the people that are pretending to be my family. I would say that all the time, right? You know, these people, they say they're my family. I don't know them. Nobody's behaving the way that I remember people behaving, right? The relationships and connections are different because you're different. Yeah. Now, when we think about what's required at that point to actually hop over realities, right? We've got this kid, they're detached, they have an out-of-body experience already, right? They've already created a fragmentation, they have created a time loop, right? So what's it going to take to hop into another reality, right? They just have to astral travel, right? Quantum jump, they just fly, right? And in that, they can come down into another timeline, right? Just the same as them getting out of their body, right? That action is very comfortable already. Their body is just an idea. Yeah. So, you know, the first quantum action to be able to astral travel is to leave your body. The first quantum action to be able to quantum jump is to leave your body. Now, the difference in those two, right? Do you remember the difference between astral travel and quantum jumping?
Yep. Yep. In astral travel, you're just moving along the continuum, and you're floating above, and well, hopefully you've got somebody watching your body, right? And in quantum jumping, you're going from one place in time to another place in time.
Exactly. Now, astral travel, though, you can go from place to time. It's just no one can see you. You're like a ghost. Do you understand that? So you can still fly, you can still travel, but you're not solid. You're not like you can't turn the doorknob. You can't.
Yeah. In quantum jumping, it's your actual self that goes. Whereas in astral travel, it's just your aura, right?
It's both your astral body, right? Your astral body is what is projected. Like if you were going to project, right, something on the screen, right, it's going to have a different molecular makeup than if something were instantly transitioned, right? So quantum jumping is more of a molecular shift than astral travel, right? When a person astral travels, it's like they're a ghost and they can't really physically interact with anything. So the difference is that there's a more molecular shift, and a person is more solid and can truly interact with the situation. That's the way when we're jumping somebody that we know that we can create change. If they can't touch things, if they can't interact with things, if they can't turn the doorknob, we have to make sure that they're more solidly there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Right? Because, you know, it's like a reflection in the mirror versus who's looking in the mirror as far as quantum jumping. Yeah. Now, derealization, right, is when you're looking around your world and nothing feels real. Like it feels like a movie. And how I notice with people is everything seems to carry the same amount of weight. So like if you're watching a movie, right? You know, your attention is dispersed between all the characters in the movie, right? And not one particular piece of that is carrying more weight than the others, right? So even self, like it's like they're watching themselves in a movie, right? So you're not going to have the same interaction with reality, right? If you're watching yourself like you're in a movie. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I've had a lot of that go
Yeah.
on in my life.
Right? Me too, right? Now, depersonalization is that, and there is a detachment within the self, right? So I don't see them that different, except that you, again, you're watching yourself be in the movie, right? You know, I used to tell my doctors all the time, I'm watching myself live, right? And no one could understand what that meant, right? And thank God that's growing, right? They may all sometimes feel like they have changed and the world is very see-through, right? Which means they're not solidly in their body. Does that make sense?
How do we know? How do we know whether we're solidly in our body, Cherie? That would be really good. You know, I would like to know in this moment whether I'm still experiencing depersonalization or not.
Well, I mean, until we gather up all your fragments, you are going to be experiencing that, right? And we have to do that. And, you know, the first step, though, as far as you being present today here, is finding the pulse in your toes and making sure you're looking out of your eyeballs. If you can see your face, then you're not here. You're not in there, right? So when I sit, pardon me?
I spend most of my time in my body now.
You know, if you can like see the top of your head, if you can see the back of your head, if you know, I mean, truly, like if we're truly in our body, we should just see this.
Yeah.
Right? We don't see our face, right? And when we're like that, we're very detached, not only from, right, relationships and stuff, we're detached from ourselves. Like it's hard to feel anything if you're not in there, right? And it's hard to know what you think if you're not really in there, right? Now, in this process, we have to recognize that being, you know, creating integrity is literal. And each one of these fragments, right, is a piece of the whole. And if they're not unified with the whole, there is no integrity. There is no integrity. Yeah. Right?
Okay, so integrity is an illusion until such time as all of your fragments are brought into the unity.
Yeah. Right. when the great white wizard talked about being able to fit through the eye of the needle? Literal. You can't do it if you're like this, right? Anytime we're trying to thread a needle, we're trying to get all those fibers to respond like one, right? So literal, right? And, you know, that passageway, that coming into integrity is that being able to fit through the eye of the needle, right? And on the other side is freedom, right? Because if we're not in integrity, right? Our thought, words, and actions are going to be going in numerous different directions. And you're not trustworthy and you're not dependable. Yeah. Now, again, these actions are mastery level skills, right? They are mastery level skills to be able to reality hop, to be able to create an out-of-body experience, to be able to astral travel, quantum jump, right? Being able to see spatially, right? If you're out of your body, then you can see the whole scenario, right? I remember as a kid being able to look in every room of our house, right? Like I was removing the roof. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to always be floating above.